Hello everyone, it's Open House Thursday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Mariah Afolabi, and as always, I have the ladies. Hello.
Hi, Mariah.
Hey, White Angel Bell.
Yo. Good morning.
How are you today?
Good morning. Yeah, I'm fine.
What's up?
I had a discussion with a friend of mine yesterday. Yesterday or day before yesterday, kind of argument. She said there is no middle class in Nigeria anymore.
No medical?
Middle class.
Oh, middle class, yeah.
So, and I said, I think the middle class are using this as a way to say they are poor or what? Because there
It's a growing middle class, actually.
there is middle class. What has happened is there is extreme poverty. There is normal poverty. You know the normal poverty of where I can eat 3 squares, but I don't have money in my account.
Right.
There is the extreme, there is abject poverty. So poverty has been translated into 3 classes.
Right.
Then the middle class going is about 2 or 3 classes. There is the middle class that where they can afford to rent 3-bedroom flats.
Middle class.
Then there's the upper middle class that can travel business class and go. Then there is the middle class. Then you have the rich.
You have apportioned everything.
I've apportioned everybody.
Middle class.
Then you have the rich, the normal rich.
And the wealthy rich.
The super rich, then the super rich, politician rich.
You always assume politicians are rich. Not all politicians are rich.
Not all. The ones that are rich are rich. So let us not deceive ourselves that there is no middle class.
Money is fleeting. I can never really. For me, it's not real wealth, because I've seen a few politicians that they had money, but after that office, give them another 5 years, they're back to
Those
regular.
are the ones that don't have the real corrupt sense. The ones that have the original corrupt sense.
They hide for their generation.
They are for their own, while they are alive, and maybe the next generation, they are okay.
Okay. Anyway, thanks for this
Is there any
analysis.
lie? Is there any lie what I'm saying?
No, we believe you.
Really appreciate it.
So where do we fall under?
You people are the middle class now.
No.
BC has a new car, you drive Benz, Morayo is living in a 3-bedroom flat. You are middle class now.
I am lower middle class. It's not my house.
I don't know where I am.
We are renting, we are paying. She's the
I think you
landlord.
can afford.
Yes, she's the middle
In
class.
Alakuko.
Super middle
I
class.
am paying rent.
Now those are the
We don't know where
you are the
Lower middle class.
Yes. She's middle class.
I don't understand what you
2 of them are middle
You
class.
are politician.
That's why my car, I'm begging to buy new car, and my car is in the workshop. I'm borrowing right now.
I claim that I'm going to be in the super rich. That's my class that I claim. By God's grace, I'm going to be super rich.
Amen.
I'm going to be by my own money.
Not
Stolen funds.
not
By my
politician.
sweat, not politician.
Not politician one, but
Claim well.
amen.
Have real
Shall we
wealth.
all do service?
Yes,
Quickly.
hold hands.
Hey, hold hand.
We shall have
Yes.
ourselves.
In Jesus' name, say amen.
Amen.
All right.
Prayer is prayer.
Today,
Whether you go through Jesus, you go through Muhammad, it's prayer.
don't worry, YK, you'll be all right.
Any prayer is
This
a prayer.
Christ,
I claim all.
this Christ, we are going to do it together.
Yes, sir.
This Jesus name, we're going to do it together. Whether you like it or not, now or very, don't
It's
worry.
me you want to face this
Don't
one.
worry, YK. You must give your life to Christ. Mariam, how are you doing?
Work has taken up all the type of banter.
Oh
I had
my
one
goodness.
serious gist like this.
Please give us
So
now.
it's serious because my friend lives in this off Lekki Ekpe Road, and she talked about how it rained one weekend continuously, and then this man was chasing his cow, and so the area was flooded, chasing his cow, and then the cow, cow, moo, so went into the flood, and then got electrocuted and died. So luckily for them, everyone had been home because the rain had been continuous. So of course they were able to call NEPA, they switched the thing off, and then they put money together to repair their transformer. So it just reminds me of the stories of the cows that had been dying in Ondo State and places like that. And they said it's some god. No, wait, no, let's be careful. It would be nice, you know, for PHCN to go and investigate there is not some electricity there, and then we get, let's just be careful so that somebody does not die, because this one, they were lucky that it was a cow that went ahead. It would have been a human being. Let's just be careful.
Cow too is a living thing.
Yeah, it's a living thing, but it's not a human being.
No.
Of course not.
I knew you were going to turn this thing on. I'm talking about something serious. We should be careful that electricity.
I just wanted to know now.
How are you doing?
I need to
So you are doing red, you are doing blue. I don't understand. Anything it is well. Go ahead. We're listening to you.
Oh, the eyeshadow.
I
Okay.
need to rest. Like I was in traffic till 10 p.m. yesterday. As a matter of fact, I had to take off almost all my clothes while driving because I was really, really tired.
You were driving stark naked?
I had to be comfortable. From morning, after the show, I had something to know now. Okay.
What did you remove? Tell us.
The important things I ought to remove. You know, I just needed my peace before getting home.
I know how that
Today's
feels. I know how that
Thursday.
feels.
I was frustrated. Yes, so immediately everything out. Till I
know
got
how it
home.
feels, trust me.
Yeah, no. The traffic, and there was we didn't see anything, nothing visible that caused that traffic. There was no truck that fell on the road.
Story of our country. Don't worry.
I feel for
One
you.
day.
Anything new for us.
Yeah. It is where. You know, Lawa. It is where. God will help us.
Monkey go market, you no go return.
One day we'll be emancipated from this problem.
Amen.
One day we shall continue to, we shall sing and remember those days.
Let's hold on again.
It will be like
Nigeria will be great.
it will be like a dream.
Nigeria must be great.
I mean, I have a dream.
We have a dream.
Yes, we do.
This country will be better.
Amen.
We'll be right back after this break. So as we're praying for Nigeria, let's get some depressing news.
Oh.
Yeah, 2 die in Lagos market fire as police arrest 12. That's the nation. Senate pushes for use of drones to fight kidnapping. Total moves sale of funding equity in Bungerfield. We didn't buy planes with power cash. APC, PDP clash over Olujimi. Adeyeye loses out. Lautech ASU to begin strike. Okay, so the fire in Lagos.
So they said a police officer lost his life in the inferno on Tuesday, sorry. They said a building beside the building that caught fire collapsed, and so a rod hit him, and that's how he passed. Another person, also, there's a claim that another person died, but they are unable to confirm the identity of this person yet. So those are the human casualties we've seen so far.
Okay, moving on to the Punch. Fashola says Nigerian roads, not that bad. MAN, NECA disagree. Picture here, Nigeria's shame. Governor Bello's burden. Niger State Technical College. Pardoned Zamfara convict arrested for car snatching and rape. 11 months arrears, Lautech ASU served strike notice. Appeal court sacks Senate spokesman Adeyeye. Judge orders Shower's release from DSS custody. Capital projects suffer 2.1 trillion naira underfunding in 4 years. Malami reduces EFCC powers, scraps asset recovery panels. Reps laments judges kidnapping, Senate seeks permanent solution. Okay, let's start with the picture story of this technical college in Niger State.
Yes, so this school, Suleiman Baru Science and Technical College in Niger State, the students are complaining that the deplorable state of the college is terrible, that they actually sleep on the floors, they do not have good toilets to use, they defecate in open spaces, the hostels do not have windows, it doesn't have doors, and so they have different animals coming into the buildings. One of the students complained that there was a time a scorpion had to, had to bite him, stung him. That's what stung him, and it was even his colleagues who helped to treat it with onions. That when they now go to the dispensary, it's only paracetamol that is given to them, no matter the disease.
You guys need to actually buy Punch and see the pictures. It is actually a despicable scene.
Yes,
it's horrible, and this is terrible.
Yeah, I know, and you see, it's the same problem of Nigeria that's happening in that school. Yeah. When a problem happens, it's small. Repair it at that time. They will wait for it to be. This one will cost millions and billions to repair. If they had been maintaining that maintenance culture, we don't seem to have it.
You can't put dogs or even animals in this kind of place. They will refuse to stay here. Fashola's major headline: our Minister of Works is saying that our roads are not that bad. Honorable Minister. See, there's some things that you should know how to say and you shouldn't say them.
Even he was prepared for the headline because he said to them, I know that this is going to be the headline, but that the truth is they are not as bad. That some of the roads are just waiting, that construction, is going to begin as soon as the rains have stopped.
I'm not sure which roads you've passed recently, but the roads that people have complained, especially the northern roads. There was a Damaturu, a Biu Road,
yes.
lots of other roads there in the northern parts that people are saying as totally impassable. Even in Lagos State, within our own state here, we see other ones that totally that needs to be fixed. So when you say they're not that bad, maybe you're talking about the Lagos Ibadan that they're fixing. I don't know, but most of the roads actually are really, really in need of quick rehabilitation. Any other story in Punch? The human interest was a pardoned Zamfara convict.
It was this guy, what's his name again, Dahiru, who had been pardoned, and the authorities are saying he was pardoned by mistake because he was already convicted for stealing, armed robbery, raping. Whoa. And anyway, he was released again. He was released and then he started the whole scenario again, stealing cars, raping women. He has denied killing. He has not denied stealing, but he says he didn't kill anybody.
Okay, let's move on to Daily Sun very quickly. Presidency sacks 35 Osinbajo's aides. Sanwo-Olu drops his excellency title. Banks defrauding Nigerians via Western Union. Senate moves against Randy lecturers, proposes 14-year jail term. Memorial Biafra group Lords Jonathan for honoring Ojukwu. Presidency sacking 35 Osinbajo. Who has our story?
Well, we took it in the Daily Trust. We wanted to take the Senate here.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, so a bill has been proposed. It's called a Bill for an Act to Prevent, Prohibit and Redress Sexual Harassment of Students in Tertiary Educational Institutions. And I think that we should be very proud of this right now. I'm very proud of the Senate for doing this because the bill states exactly, what it penalizes. It says that they are not just penalizing, that the most effective way to deal with the offense of sexual harassment in tertiary institutions is to penalize the very impropriety of the act with or without consent. Because sometimes we have this conversation that, sometimes the way these girls dress or they throw themselves at me. The bill is saying that it does not matter whether it was with or without consent, you will be punished. And also gave a list of all the things that fall under sexual harassment, winking, making jokes that are inappropriate, making life
the student also that actually lured or actually seduced or in any way the lecturer would get
will be prosecuted. As well. And then if you're caught lying on a lecturer that he abused you, you'll get expelled. That's also a possibility.
I want to talk about the governor who has someone who has said he doesn't want to be addressed as Excellency. He wants to be addressed as Mr. Governor. Okay. He says that that Excellency makes you feel like an oppressor, and you have this demigod outlook to life. Yeah. And I just want to say the origination of that Excellency was from our colonialists who, because they felt we were under them, they had us address them as Excellency and Honorable, and then our governors now continued. So I'm actually really.
I would like to give us a few minutes.
I have a different opinion about that.
That's how we let me get your opinion now.
Okay, so my opinion is sometimes we give you the Excellency Honorable to read so that it puts you in that state of mind that we expect of you excellence. We expect of you to be honorable. That is how I see it.
It gets to their head.
So it's not the Excellency or the Honorable that gets to their head. It's the way we take it. It's the way we behave. So I can call you
with this politician. Let me let you jump in first.
Okay, I don't care about what you're called. What you are there to do is what I want you to do. What is expected of you. Even if we call you a god, are you delivering as a god? We should leave. Nomenclature is not our business as it is. Problem. Do the job that you are there to do. We don't care what you're called.
I think what
he is saying is, look, you have been calling us this and we didn't deliver. So let me move on this and see if I'm treated as a man like you,
actually make it
I will deliver.
I think we should make it a topic because I think it's something worth talking about. Because I felt that I've worked around politicians and I see that these things get to their head sometimes. Oh, Your Excellency, my Honorable. They make them feel like, yes, they're larger than life. And he's trying to tell us, listen, that's nice, but you appointed me, you voted me on to serve. That is the work I'm here to do. Don't make me feel larger than life. Because sometimes we need to remind ourselves that, so maybe it's not so much for us, but it's not for him. We don't know, but it's worth talking about.
We need to look into
this
it.
guy too has stopped it, the Ondo governor, Akeredolu. You don't call him...
Ogbeni, I think.
Arakunrin, which means Mr.
Yeah, right.
In Yoruba, Arakunrin is Mr.
Okay, so, let's move on to the Nigerian trip. I think we're taking way more time on this. 3 years after rejection, social media bill returns to Senate. Who wants to take that story?
Yes, the bill has returned to the Senate. So the fine is 150,000 naira or a penalty of 3 years. And also media houses as well will get a huge fine of 10 million if they ascertain that you are peddling false news, fake news, and what it is. So I would advise them to make a list of what they call, what the offenses are, so that you know and know your boundaries, know where you're not supposed to get to.
We're still afraid. We're still afraid of the abuse of some of these
laws.
Yes.
Very quickly, Vanguard insecurity. We must go outside budget for funds. DSS defers Sowore Bakare's release till today, hopefully. Signing of PSC Act, Osinbajo's office not relegated his presidency. We haven't talked about our vice president yet.
Yeah, so they said about 35 of his aides have been sacked, although the presidency is saying that there's no problem between the president and the vice president. I think that, but people are saying along the corridors of power that this may have to do with the 2023 elections. This was the same thing that happened during the Obasanjo Atiku period. But Daily Trust did something, which is they put in pictorial way, what has happened. So they gave like September 16th, Buhari replaces Osinbajo-led economic team. September 17th, Buhari directs Osinbajo to seek approval for agencies under him. October 1st, Buhari moves NPower school feeding program to humanitarian ministry. November 5th, Buhari appoints new economic advisor. November 6th, Buhari sacks Osinbajo's 32 aides. Wow. So sometimes it may seem
like nothing is happening, but then it's...
But they're saying also that the aides that were sacked were those working under the social investment program. And because that has been moved off for him. So that could be. We don't know yet, but we're waiting for an official
I think
response
the president
from his
actually
office.
needs to address us on this matter.
He's not out of the country. He's still in the...
He can address us from then. And usually
he has signed paper from there.
We had yesterday say it was okay for him to rule.
So he should let us know, because actually what I read also is that they were trying to delay it till he got back, so to get clarity. But obviously, Abba Kyari effected this sack, and obviously nothing can be done right now until the president gets back.
Okay.
Okay, we'll see how that goes. Unfortunately, that's all we can take on Front Page Review. When we come back, we're going to focus on this issue of House of Torture today, because in the last few weeks, many rehab centers have been unearthed, and we're seeing the fact that lots of young people and even old people have been taken, but in quotes, rehabilitated, but actually were subjected to a lot of maltreatment. So we're going to go into why this happens in the first place, the mental state of these people, and how do parents ensure that they have the right tools to help their children that might have mental challenges. So when we come back, we're going to take a full 1 hour to discuss this. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So recently, the Nigerian police have invaded different rehabilitation centers across the country. The outcome of these invasions have left many in total disbelief and shock. We'll be taking a critical look at the so-called rehab centers, the religious connotations, and analyzing the mental state of the children, amongst others. Joining us for the first segment is the leading Imam Council of Imams, Lagos State House of Assembly Masjid, Abdushakur Osoala. Welcome to the show, sir.
You are welcome. Thank you, ma'am.
You can call us on 0708-066-8014. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read your tweets. As we have this conversation, the pictures, some of the pictures will be shown on your screen. I must warn you, though, they are very disturbing. So please take caution as you watch these pictures. Sir, in the last few weeks, we've seen the police invaded these rehab centers. And unfortunately, the leaders of these centers have either been imams or Christian clerics. So these are religious leaders that parents take their children to, thinking that they're going to get rehabilitated. I need to ask, let's rewind a bit and find out, the origin of this. How did this start? Why do parents bring children to imams or pastors or Christian leaders?
Thank you, Sister Mariah. Most parents, let's start from the home. When you want to marry each other, a male and a female, there is mutual agreement that we want to create future leaders. We want to have children. The agreement was that we are going to nurture them very well, give them feeding, accommodation, clothing, and we will give them, finally, education. And that is an agreement. And that agreement must bind between the couples. Because once you have agreed to be one, it is your responsibility to take care. Like in Islam, there are 6 responsibilities parents are to discharge. Firstly, the faith education. Secondly, the ethical. Thirdly, psychological. Fourthly, social. The 5th one, sexual education. 6th one is physical. Those are the things we are expected to carry out.
Okay, I get that point, sir. But I like you as an imam. When parents bring children to clerics or to imams in situations where their children are unstable or have issues mentally, what exactly is the prescription the imam is supposed to provide at that point? Because this is pretty rampant in the north and the east, everywhere. So there's got to be something that parents feel the imams are going to bring to help these children. So what is, according to the Quran, what exactly are you supposed to do to help that child?
The Quran said we should assist one another. And Quran also, our Prophet ﷺ said, you have 3 types of neighbors. And you must be mindful and you must assist your neighbors when they are in difficulty and in adversity. Once children are brought to the clerics, the cleric is expected to ask certain questions about, 1, what has been the interaction between the parent and the child? 2, how far? Because some parents, their attitudes towards, because we have selective perception under symbolic interaction, under when it comes to under sociology of communication. Because many parents, like fathers, when father arrives, it is problem. But when they are with the mothers, when the wards are with mothers, they are always relaxed. The cleric should ask series of questions. The clerics should turn, at that period, should be a psychologist to ask certain questions.
Sir, yeah. I want to look at the honesty of these clerics. And this is cutting across the religions, all the religions, because we've had people that have been, saved from the southwest, the north, and all of that. So it's not just one religion that is,
it is everybody.
It's everybody. So the honesty of the clerics, in the sense that the clerics are there to administer, so to speak, spiritual guidance.
Guidance, yes, yes.
They are not psychologists.
They are not psychologists.
They are not medical doctors.
No, no.
Now, if a parent brings a child who is, mentally unstable to the clerics, you are not a healer.
Yes.
At what point do you say, we cannot handle this in this institution, or you just accept everybody and lump them up together?
And to just help her buttress it, aren't these institutions illegal? Because if you are not professionally qualified to heal these children, what are you doing? Not you. I mean, what are they doing?
Having them in the building.
Taking them in.
Rehabilitation.
What you don't know, you don't go near it. Every aspect of human life is expertise. Like you are here now, you are experts on this field. And that is why you are here. What you don't know, there's, even as spiritual leader, they are the one to advise that, look, what I don't know this, it is beyond me. Even he can assist to take the children with the parents to the most important, the proper center. And the proper center also should take care, because at times most people, the way they approach, maybe you are taken to the hospital, the approach of some medics are very worrisome. Maybe that is why they said, okay, so at times also, they say LOTS labor, we shouldn't be so. Has he or she been diagnosed?
Okay, let me let Imam jump in here for a second.
Okay, so I have like a little bit of insights, especially from the north, you know, relatives, and I've spoken to them about it. It's something that has always been there traditionally. You have a child, maybe not entirely, not even mentally ill, just maybe a difficult child at home. And then you just want that the person should have some form of religious guidance. I just want to I would like you to tell us if Islam, because you're an Imam, who can ask a Christian cleric provides, you know, any sort of teaching about taking children to a cleric and for the cleric to guide. First of all, to guide. Is there any provision in the Quran that shows that it is okay to take your children to an Imam to guide him if it's difficult to sort of straighten them out?
Okay, the person you are addressing was once under a cleric. And the way the home was established, we were trained. My teacher is still alive. He's a retired teacher now. The way it is the same thing in the 70s, 80s. You know, there are hostels whereby students, it is not, at times, it is not that the students' attitude or behavior may be the cause. It may be for progress, in order to avert unnecessary distractions.
Okay, let me, sorry, I have the call and holding for a while. Tochi, are you still there?
Yes.
Thanks for calling. Go ahead, please.
Hello?
You're live. Go ahead, please.
All right. I'm my first time caller.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, please, I really want to contribute into this topic because if you watch, this is how Boko Haram guys are being trained in Nigeria. And the government should do everything humanly possible to make sure they eradicate this particular system. Because with this system in place, how these guys are being treated, if you have anything to do with these kids or whoever, you can find out that their mind should be at the back with the level of torture they have gone through. That's all I've got to contribute. Thank you.
Okay, so because I said we're going to spend a full hour on this because we have a mental expert in the building. We also have parenting experts. So, sir, finally on your own part, because we like to believe that it is almost a norm for parents to take their children to clerics. That's what Mariam was trying to establish. Yes. Is that a norm? Is it normal, first of all, for a parent to take their child, that the child that if they feel is maybe having some issues? Have you ever heard of it before? Is it normal?
It depends on the individual parents, how he or she perceive it. Yeah. But as parents, no matter how your child is, you should be able to control and to address and understand.
I would like the experts focus on that. The focus for what I would like to find out from you, however, is there a role the Imams play?
He also said that he went through a cleric as well.
So you've given to a cleric,
I went through to learn more.
Okay.
To learn more. And the way we were treated, we were taught how to cook. We were taught there are many aspects of home living that we were treated, that we were taught. And today, I do tell my wife, even if she's washing, I will say, this is not how I was
because you
taught.
Trained.
Because I was
in your own time, you were properly trained, but now these centers have changed to something else.
Yes, my sisters, the parents also, if you want to take your child to a cleric, they are expected to access the facilities there?
Exactly.
What about the environment? And what is the character, attitude? The person I'm taking my child to, who is he?
Right.
What is his mental, because his mental stableness is very important.
Okay, let's go on the break. When we come back, we'll bring in a mental expert, because obviously the state of these children, we need to understand what the next steps are, because sometimes after these things happen, they just dump them right back to their parents. We don't even know how the healing process is supposed to be, and what they've been through. How do we begin to understand them and reconcile them back into society? Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So to continue this conversation, we have a mental health expert, Priscilla Benjamin-Olaoye. Welcome to the show, Priscilla. So Priscilla, before we had the Imam, and we wanted to establish why parents take children to clerics, religious, Christian and Islamic clerics. But as a mental health expert, I'd like us to talk on why we spiritualize mental health. Because when a parent sees a child who comes across as unstable or somebody that is difficult for them to control, the first thing they think is, my pastor. Pastor, please, we need prayers. So I need you to help us. Imam, we need prayers. What should we do in this kind of situation?
Okay, so regarding spiritualizing mental health, it comes from our set of beliefs. We talk about our core beliefs as a people. We are all, everything we do, our thoughts, our actions, everything goes through the filter of the things of our core beliefs. And our core beliefs are formed from childhood. You know, we usually will talk about the tabula rasa concept, where when any child is born, the mind is a clean slate, and you know, nothing is written on it. The environment, parents, and other handlers, usually we just write on it. So what we have believed to be true becomes our reality. So what happens usually is there is a programming that, so someone is a Muslim, he's been told that things like that are spiritual. So you start with, for example, the Ojuju Calabar concept, where you're already telling a child that, oh, demons exist, or this unseen forces exist, and all of that. That naturally becomes where you go to in crisis. And don't forget that when it comes to health, you are in survival mode. You just want to do anything to get out of that crisis, because this is now between life and death. And then when it comes to mental health especially, you are saying, oh my goodness, no, this does not exist in our family. Let's just quickly do something. Because it's not in our family tree, let us quickly do something, to arrest. So we spiritualize it because of this belief system that were formed as a result of upbringing and handling and all of that. Now, what happens is every single time that an individual then has to seek help, the individual is in a conflict between seeing a mental health expert and seeing a spiritual guide. But what eventually happens is when you take the person to a spiritual guide, the spiritual needs are met, while the psychological and the mental needs are left unmet. Because we have 4 basic domains of functioning. We have our physical, we have our psychological, we have our emotional, and we have our spiritual. Every single human being has that domain of functioning where you have that thing in you that tells you there's a higher power that helps you to function, and when you are at your wit's end, that's where you go through. So you cannot meet you cannot meet only the spiritual needs. You might take that as a stool with 4 legs. You then take care of one leg and then leave the other leg suffering. That's eventually what happens. So spiritualizing mental health is a function of core beliefs that has been propagated through culture, that has been propagated through upbringing and environment.
Religion.
Yes, ma'am.
But in situations where people actually take their children or wards to religious leaders and they get healing, their testimonies, oh, I used to be this, now I am fine. And everybody sees that as an indication that, when I have this kind of similar issue, it works. So when we see that's an encouragement, don't you think?
Absolutely. Proof is usually validation for what works. The moment you see proof or evidence is validation for what works. The mistake we made in the past, and
I was discussing a research with a colleague. There was a research that came out in 2004. And what data found was that before now, we had not clearly given a distinction, a correlation between spirituality and our mental health. So what was happening a very long time ago was that you were saying that, oh, seek this whatever, and then is this whatever. Don't spiritual. But now there's an integration, knowing that for someone to be mentally well, there has to be some spiritual guidance and all of that. So now let me also say that when sometimes we see, because you see all these mountains, these schools, all this, they're all over the place. When sometimes what some of them do is that they come and I was in practice for clinical practice for quite a while, and you will see some of these people come into the psychiatric facility, collect some of the collect some of the
drugs, or
yes, the psychotropic drugs, and blend it into the holy water or blend it into the water or something that they give to them. So they give to these people and they sleep. Do you understand? So sometimes they dilute medication, sometimes they grind it into their food. Do you get that? So all of this happen, but I'm not saying that that's what everybody does, but we've seen cases like this.
How do they get access to these drugs?
Okay, so usually what happens is because of the, because some of the medications are used on a long-term basis, it's going to be too much work when you expect to see the client all the time before you give the medication. So a lot of relatives usually would come with a valid prescription, because prescription is supposed to be between a particular date to another date. So if the person comes with, so once you are given one prescription, it's encouraged that you make photocopies so that, because you can't buy it all at once also, because you can't afford to. So usually we buy it in little bits. So you would naturally respond to family members who come and have a valid prescription.
So it seems to me like what we're dealing with here is ignorance.
Absolutely.
A lot of parents, because of the way they have placed the clerics and the pastors and whoever, and because of the fact that we put so much shame to people with mental health, mental illness. Nobody wants to say, I have somebody who is doing skon. We call it skon. So you quickly push that person towards a spiritual healer who will handle. It also seems to me like the healers themselves, the spiritual healers themselves, are aware that this is not what they can handle. They know the truth, but they won't be honest enough to tell them, why don't you take this person to a psychiatrist? Yes, a therapist. They're taking everything just to, show that we can actually do this using whatever beliefs that we have. So I think what we need to do here more is to, change the mindset of people, that you should channel, if you have a child who you are suspecting has a mental issue, channel to the appropriate sources and separate spirituality from this.
I want to come in there, because that was why I deliberately started with core beliefs. There is a difference. So this is beyond ignorance issue. You see someone who is well educated, someone who is exposed, who understands that we have psychological needs, we have emotional needs. Still, we have people with PhDs, because there's a difference between knowledge and understanding. Knowledge is when you know something, understanding is when you do it. So, but you cannot get to the realm of understanding something or doing something except it aligns with your core beliefs.
You said something
That's
when you started.
Yeah.
So you okay, so you said something about when it comes to health, there's a desperation. So talking about people who have all this education, sometimes I remember when Betty Rabo came and she said she was willing to do anything and go anywhere because she was dealing with depression. And sometimes it seems that these houses, these spiritual houses, are more accessible. So I'm wondering, has there ever been a time where, I know you don't work with government, but maybe you may know because it's your field, where government, or is this something that should be encouraged, where government will work together with these houses? Because I hear traditionally these houses were meant, they did well, but of course, with things that are not regulated or watched, there's abuse. What do you think?
That's ongoing already. And I also want to say that mental health services are not hard to find. In fact, if you walk into a PHC, that's a public health center, the one at the grassroots, it's usually in every local government. You would have access to see a psychiatrist. Usually they will just give you an appointment date. They are not difficult to find. Also, psychiatric facilities, that we have one in Lagos, which is the Psychiatric Hospital Yaba. We also have the, what's it called, Luth. Luth also has a psychiatric arm. We also have every every general hospital with resident psychiatrists.
I've been to that Luth one.
The one in Yaba?
The one in Luth.
No, the psychiatric arm in Luth is in Yaba.
Is Yaba.
It's on Harvey Road.
No, that one is.
There is the Yaba psychiatry. There's Yaba psychiatry. There's also the buildings are beside each other on Harvey Road.
Okay. I want us to go to the issue of the fact that.
But I wanted to, quickly answer a question as to access, so that because that's very important. So access is available. Also, the government, these government hospitals partner with these people. Do you understand? There is partnership going on, but it's not that. It's just that not everybody is based on what you said as to. You don't know when to say I cannot.
But Priscilla, let me go to the point of shame. For families, it is shameful to have a child who is mentally ill. For families, so it's not so much that I want a rehab center. It's more like take him somewhere that he's not even here. Take this child away. They don't need to know, just say he has traveled. He's no more, he has moved out. That's the idea. So that's the mentality we need to begin to address. Why must you get rid of a child that is mentally ill? And I'd like you to help us address that.
Shame is what you call it. If I refuse to be shamed for something, look, permit me to use Teniola. Who would have thought a plus size becomes
Teniola first.
The artist.
The artist, the singer. Who would have thought a plus size? Yes, Tenny. Who would have thought a plus size would
do that well.
Flaunt and, she still says, oh, how do I look? And all of. Shame is what you call it. If you say that,
define what shame is.
you define what shame is. You tell people what you want to be ashamed about. You because every single time we're teaching people how to treat us. Yes. Every single time we're teaching people what we accept and what we do not accept. What we accept, people accept with us. If I have a child, for example, I have a friend who has an autistic child. And, she was on the plane, they were coming from China. And some of the passengers, because, autistic children usually would make very funny sounds. And her son was making this, her daughter rather, was making this funny sound. And some of the people on the plane began to mimic her being a monkey. And they go, woo, 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 to her. And, that was a lot of shaming and all of that. And she got up and said that...
Adults.
Yes, adults. And she got up to say that, you can't shame my child. You're displaying your ignorance. Elevating ignorance and all of this. So we do not stand up. So because that thing is shame to us, it becomes shame for us.
I know what
right? Yeah. So that's usually what's happening with the parents, because they see it as shame, okay, it becomes shame for them. And unfortunately, we do not realize that the mental health is a continuum. There is nothing like, oh, this person is mentally sick, I'm mentally well. We don't believe in that. Mental health is a continuum. And we all are on different aspects of the spectrum, based on where we are per time, based on what we're going through per time, based on what's happening in our lives per time, and, the circumstances around us.
May I clap first before I say something? Now, we have people who have been rescued from the different houses. And we are afraid that at the end of the day, they'll just, wash them clean and push them back to their parents without properly paying attention to all the torture they've been through. A lot of them have said the things that they've gone through in those torture houses, so to speak. So as a mental health expert, what do you suggest we do to these ones that we are seeing right now that have been released from the different homes first before releasing them to their parents?
So obviously we cannot deny that they have been traumatized. And we usually would say that trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy is the encouraged approach. When an individual goes through any form of trauma, then it's very important that we take the person, because you see, and the reason why we say trauma-focused CBT, as we all know CBT, but usually we say trauma-focused because there's a technique to it. It focuses on the trauma. An individual that has been traumatized, it shows in other areas of their lives. It shows in their social interaction, it shows in the way they communicate, it shows in their view of the world. They begin to say to themselves that, oh, the world is cruel. Because mommy or daddy or auntie or uncle has permitted this to happen to me. I was not protected. You know, so it means that I am dispensable.
So these guys that we release now may come out to become criminals.
Absolutely.
If they don't have the proper
human beings are not kind. Nobody has my back. So why should I be kind to other people?
Yes.
So it affects their map of the world. It affects their view of the world.
Let me take this call from Olayinka. Olayinka, are you still there?
Yeah, good morning.
Thanks for calling. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Olayinka from Abulega. I think staying put to the topic of the day, which is illegal rehabilitation center. I wanted to pick up the word illegal, because if these people are not making business out of this thing, they will not be in it. I remember back in those days, if people take their abnormal children to clerics or herbalists to take care of them, they don't ask for money. They take care of them free of charge. They do it as spiritual call. But these days, they ask for money. I even learned some parents pay as far as 90,000 naira to register their children. Whoa. So it's about business. I think the government should look at it from that angle. It's absolutely illegal, and these people are making business by torturing other people. I even have a feeling it could be a breeding ground for Boko Haram and all sorts.
Thank you very much, Olayinka. Thank you very much. We saw chains, shackles. As a mental health, I mean,
I don't think it's all of them that have mental health issues.
So
I don't think it's some of them, they just maybe drop them there. Maybe they said the stepmother, I don't want this child there. They just put them there. They don't come and she has convinced the father that something is wrong with him. It's not all of them have mental health issues.
So now for those,
some of them are going to learn how to be afars. They think until you get there, you see
something else,
another thing.
So for somebody who has been in chains for years, you've been under shackles and you've been starved, what do you do to help that person be reconciled to the society? How?
Give that person's dignity back.
What kind of dignity? Yes.
Okay,
give that person that dignity.
Right. So you see, this is rehabilitation now, and rehabilitation would encompass multidisciplinary approach. So you have the psychologist or the psychotherapist help the person meet the emotional needs, the emotional need of love, the emotional need of acceptance, and addressing, what has, because you see, you might see the shackles as what has traumatized that person. But what might have traumatized that person is where they had to use the bathroom, or where they had to use the toilet.
Not even the chains.
Yes, so you define what the trauma. So every individual determines what is traumatic for them. So the therapist usually would guide into finding out what was traumatic for you, and then you try to address. Because we say that you want to address the thinking challenge and the behavioral challenge, right? And then you have the occupational therapist who comes in to say, okay, let us, help with rehabilitation. You also have, to be able to find something to do and reintegrate the person back to the society. That's what occupational therapists do. You don't have the psychiatric social worker who helps with social relationships, because the person might not even know how to deal normally with people anymore, might not know how to sustain a healthy relationship, because where they were, there could be the tendency that they had to scramble and fight and do so. They no longer know how to relate. So they would need a social worker to help provide social support.
Let me take this
call. Talk about the family and all of that.
Let me take a call from Hassan from Lekki. Thanks for calling. Are you there? Good morning, sir.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning, sir.
Morning.
This is what is really happening is something that should give all of us concern. And it's a matter of systemic failure in our society. And, people that wear the shoes know where it pinches. Because we are not in their position, we are not in the position of their parents. This kind of sentence have been existing for a very long time. Because we tend to adduce legality to many things. Legality, legal aspect of it on one side, and acceptability of the existence of these centers by we, the people. We accept it. Some people went through these centers, got healed, and some are still battling with it. You see, we have two ways to our problems. I saw it as a failure of governance. The government failed woefully. Government is not just about providing roads, it's about caring for us. They should go into these areas. Even people that are defrauding people, government should go into it and get it stopped.
Right.
It's not about only building road, building school, building this, building that. No. You understand? A lot of things are happening in our society.
Thank you very much, sir.
There are a lot of dislocation in our society happening.
Thank you, sir. He said acceptability, that we've accepted it. A lot of people are being through, just like Wike said, they've been through there, they went through actually to learn how to become better.
Yeah.
But we've accepted that as way of life. Is that something we should accept?
Okay, so we can't decide for another human being what they should accept or what they should not accept. But there is a collective reality as to what we have found helpful.
Yeah.
And usually, even with any basic thing, everything has advantage and disadvantage. But when the disadvantage outweighs the advantage, then you begin to say, no, this does not work for us. So I hear what he's saying about acceptability. And the truth of the matter is that if they didn't have people who were patronizing them, based on their own beliefs, they usually would not have clients. But what I see is a problem of regulation.
But I think what is happening is this prevalent decadence that is happening. Look, when I was growing up, I hardly ever saw, there were not that many private schools. And before you can open a private school, you have to establish it properly. Now, in Nigeria, you don't open one flat private school, anything. So you can have private school, you can have these correctional centers. There should be...
Let's go on a break, Wike. Okay. When we come back, I'll bring in addition to join the show, a parental expert to even help us understand how parents should help their children that are stubborn or that they feel have issues, how they can manage this kind of children. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Okay, on this final segment, we have Omobabinrin Areola Osideko. Welcome to the show. She's actually a life coach and a personal development expert. She'll be joining us on this conversation. Now, I'd like you to help us touch on the role of parenting in this area of raising children. Now, when you have a stubborn child or a child you feel that we understand the mental illness part, which is where Priscilla comes in. But when you have, as Mike said, the children, they were not just mentally ill. They were actually parents felt were stubborn, unruly, and children they couldn't handle, they couldn't control anymore. As a parental expert or as a life coach, how can we help parents to know how to handle children they feel is unruly?
Okay, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I think the first thing is that we need to understand that parenting is an intentional act. It's not like we used to have it before, that once you come together as couple, the next thing is to give birth to children. I think it's something you need to be deliberate about. We're coming together as a man and a woman for procreation. Are we actually ready for this? In the Bible, God said he created everything from the first day to the sixth day, and from the first day to the fifth day. On the sixth day, he created man, and on the seventh day, he rested. That means everything a man would need to survive has already been created by God before man was created. So it then means as a parent, you need to be intentional about bringing children into this world. You need to be sure that everything those children would need is already there.
But life happens. Yeah. Life happens to parents. Things happen where you're not sure how to handle situations. Maybe you're both husband and wife are so busy at work, doing so much that the children now get the interactions they have and now with people that are influencing them negatively, such that things happen. So as a parent, what can you do? Because you don't know how to handle this child who seem that is just stubborn. They are rude. They do all the vices, all the wrong vices. They have all those vices, and you're trying really hard to get them on the right side. What can a parent do?
Okay, I'll still go back to the intentionality. You need to understand that parenting should be intentional, and you need to be present in the life of your children. You need to know what goes in and out of them, no matter how busy you are. You need to be present. You need to know their friends, what they do, how their day runs, and everything about them. when you are present in the life of your children, it will be very difficult for a child to just develop an attitude overnight. It is not something that just happened suddenly. It's something that has been happening gradually that you're not paying attention to as a parent.
There is this child in my brother's children's school, and she went to the counselor. She has a, you know, this kitten, toy kitten, and that kitten has been telling her to stab her parents. Can you imagine?
Who bought the toy?
I must have been her parents.
Please, it's not the toy. Obviously, she seems to be dealing with
she's
some
having
mental health issue.
Hearing noises.
Yes. Now, that kind of, if the counselor doesn't go and quickly tell the parents are going to, one day they will just wake up, she will be carrying a knife.
Now,
in that
Priscilla,
kind of situation, what will she do? What will should the parents do to that?
I needed to quickly clarify that narrative, that story. Is it that the toy is a toy that talks?
It doesn't talk now.
Okay, so the child says she hears
a voice.
So you see, that's auditory hallucination, and we don't even realize that mental illness can be diagnosed in a child of 5, can be diagnosed in a child of 7, can be from age 5 you can diagnose. So, and that's why we have child and adolescent psychiatrists. That's their forte. It's child and adult, because there are mental illnesses that do occur, you know, and we also have child psychologists, you know, so that child is already having is already having auditory hallucination, and that child should, of course, immediately be taken to a specialist to see, and it's something that is very treatable.
You know how this came up? Because my brother's daughter has this kitten that she talks to, and she's very, very close to the kitten. That counselor is their lesson teacher. That one came and said, you better stop playing with this thing. Because
so the thing is not the problem. It's the emotional and mental state of that child, you know, which needs to be addressed.
Exactly.
I also wanted to add that, you know, I was saying off camera that our level of mental resilience is gone really down. So you have a parent who is also not emotionally stable. Raising a child, what do you expect would happen? And when I say emotional stability, these things are not far-fetched. You and I are not in the best of our mental states at different times. It's not far-fetched. We're talking on this table, right? It's not all of the time that you are up, you know, you are at that optimal whatever.
I see them.
And you
busy.
Okay, you know your own story.
And you know, so that's it. We oftentimes do not know. A mentally resilient person is the person who knows when to ask for help. So not because you are weak, but because you want to continue to remain strong. Do you get it? So we should know that. You know, I remember being on the show the other time, and I was saying that there are 4 criteria to know someone who is mentally well. And, you know, I was saying that one of them is, the first one, according to World Health Organization, is a mentally well person realizes his own abilities. You know that this is my limit. I can't go more than this. This is when you know. So for a parent, it's okay to seek a parenting expert to say that.
But I wanted to talk to our other expert because we want to come in.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
So what I hear you say is, as a parent, it's very important that you're present.
In the life
when
of
you're when you're present, you make observations. You know, sometimes we have teachers who will come and tell a parent that, I noticed your son has been behaving that way, and the parent did not even notice it for when it started, how it started. So as a parent, if you are someone who's observant, you notice the mood changes in your children, anything that goes wrong, at what point do you now know that this child needs help? What do you see that tells you this is beyond me just talking to my child? I need to see a mental expert. Yes.
Okay, let me give you an example of my child, my 10-year-old boy. He attends a school where we have a lot of nationals in that school. It's obviously out of Nigeria. And I discovered at the point that anytime he needs something, he has 2 sisters. Anytime he needs something, he always pushes the sisters to me to come and meet me to get that thing. And I was worried. Why? You're a boy. You should be more bold. In fact, your sisters should be sending you to me, not the other way around. And I was so nervous. So I tried to inquire what the problem is. And eventually, I got to the bottom of the matter. And it has to do with a boy in the school, a white boy, was actually bullying him. That was why he became so timid. He has lost his self-confidence and the rest. So I have to go to the school to explain, like, I've noticed this in my child, and they have to bring the boy out, and, you know, we're able to resolve it among the teachers and the parents and the boy. So I think when you are noticing some things, just like you said, some strange behaviors in your children, you think it is not really normal. You should maybe talk to the teacher, because the thing is, they stay more in school than they do at home. Yeah. So the teachers most times are in the best position to tell you, this is what I have also been observing about this child. Then from there, you can take it to the next level.
Let me quickly add that a child has 3 faces. The face at home with the parents, the face at school, and the face when he or she is with the peers. So you can be an observant parent, you can be a present parent. And being a present parent is not about even the longevity of time. It's about you being present.
When you're there.
When you are there. If you have 5-10 minutes to spend with the child, make it 10 minutes. Let the child know that mommy and daddy sees me. It's not about the physical or the, it's about, there are people who are miles away from their children, but they're still present in their lives. It's just like being with a spouse, right? So a child has 3 faces. So when you can be a present parent, that's what got me there. You can be a present parent, but not know that your child is a certain way. Or might not say something. It doesn't make you a failed parent, because parents beat up themselves. Say, how come I didn't notice this?
Yes,
no, don't beat up yourself. A child has these 3 faces. So what you need to do is to be an open parent. You should be an open parent. You should be there when she's playing with her peers. No, when I say open, it means that I am ready to listen for feedback without denial, without judgment. So if someone says to me that I observe this about my child, I shouldn't pull up the wall of defense or denial to say, no, it cannot be my child. You know, because a child has 3 faces.
You make a point, because for my child, most people that made especially my son, they say he's well behaved. And then he has this lesson teacher who said to me he's very rude to her. I was in shock. At first, I thought, is it possible? But then not only has he been rude to her, but also the help in the house. So I understood that, yes, you know, and I also told you when he poured water on his bed so that his cousins would not sleep on the bed. But this is the child that even in school, he gets best behaved. So for me, sometimes I wonder, is it a problem when your child seems to have very different faces, though, in the different situations?
Okay, answering that quickly, I want you to know that it's not that that child has multiple personalities, but the child has different motivations at different places as to what I want. It's just like you and I. A lot of parents do not remember what they did at 10 or what they did at 7. We can't remember who we were. So when you remember that, when I was 10, I acted naughty in, you know, you're able to see and introspect and reflect on, you know, who you are. So it's not that the child it's just that there's something motivating that child to do that. So it's for you as a parent to then say, oh, I need to find out what is motivating this behavior.
Yesterday I was talking to my daughter, you know, on FaceTime, and my nephews and nieces were making noise and fighting. So I said to them, I said, if you cry, I will beat you to make your cry worse.
On FaceTime?
No, I was talking to my nieces while I was talking to my mother. I said, you cuckoo did that to me. You will tell me that if I cry, you will make it, I will give you a reason to cry. So I sat down and I thought, oh my goodness.
Let me tell you stuff. How we have Shade, are you there? Thanks for calling. Shade, thanks for calling. Are you there? Ade.
Hello.
Thanks for calling, Ade. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, good morning, please.
Morning.
I think what the causes of this thing is that I think is poverty, number 1. And secondly, the founder of this center, YK we know, is called Jesu Igbo. He has more than 5,000 in his capacity then, but the government then didn't do anything serious. I think that is what degenerated to this level now. The man is called Jesu Igbo. Many of you will not know, but why can't we know?
I know.
It's poverty, nothing more than that. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Jesu Igbo, Maryland.
Maryland, yes.
Yeah.
By the Cove.
What did he do? What did he do?
He's gone now.
He's passed on.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of atrocities.
So he had a center as well, or?
I don't want to talk.
Okay, they say that you will know.
Tell us what are they doing there? Life witness.
I'm a life witness. I didn't go there.
song.
I didn't go there.
There's a song to the Jesu Oyinbo. That's how I got to know.
They'll
say, "Mi o mo Jesu Oyinbo." I don't know Jesu. You know the song. That's
my kids have. They had them. They are thinking that went over to summer school. They did. Summer school.
Mastermind
was on that Jesu Oyinbo. That on the right hand side. That was Jesu. That's all I know, but I don't know what happened there.
There are a lot of atrocities that are claimed to have happened there. I'm on live TV. I go and say it. They will not come and help me if I get sued for libel.
You
be slander.
Ilori, thanks for calling.
Don't put me inside.
I have a call from Ilori. Thanks for calling. Are you there?
Hello. Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead, sir.
Hello.
You're live. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I want to point something out.
Yes.
They were talking about toy, the toys that the baby was playing with. I want to say that there are some toys that these kids use these days that are actually for real programmed with some things that are not healthy for the children. There are actually some dolls that speak these days and tell these kids negative things. There are some games. There was a game that was trending, I think, last year that will tell you to go stab somebody, that will tell you to go kill somebody. So it's not just psychological, it's not mental all of the time. We need to screen the games that our kids play with, the dolls they play with.
Thank you very much. We have to wrap up, and I'd like each of you to just have this closing statement, and I'd like to start with you. So parents, the reason why we're having this conversation today is because parents are taking their children to rehab centers. Obviously, for whatever reason, many feel that they can't take them to mental health facilities, either because of it's expensive or it's not accessible. And she tried to make us understand that it's actually very accessible. But as a parent, tell us, what should a parent do when you know that your child needs help? What would you advise a parent to do, and how do they manage that child in the house?
Okay, we have various parenting coaches all around. We have various organizations organizing parenting conferences for parents. You can get in touch with any of those professionals on parenting, because parenting is actually a skill. The modern parenting we have now is different from those days that just raise children anyhow. It is actually now a skill that you need to acquire. So you need to get in touch with all those people to give you guidance on how to go about, and more importantly, pray for those children. Because just like she said, we cannot neglect the spiritual parts of our being.
I think that's really crucial. Yes. What you just said, like, listen, there's help out there. Parenting is a skill. You must learn it. Because we didn't come to this world with this skill, so we must learn it.
I always say, not every parent, not everybody that is a parent is actually a good parent. There's no talent to being a parent. It's actually parenting that's you. But I want to read this tweet before you take your thing. Now, when a patient doesn't show any signs of improvement at orthodox mainstream mental institutions, what do distraught family members do other than resort to spiritual correctional centers? I wanted you to address that in your closing.
So I usually would say that we do not embrace the multifaceted kind of care. We just want to stay on one. So when you say the orthodox, while you're doing the orthodox, nothing has stopped you from embedding the spiritual aspect as well, if that's your belief. They can go hand in hand, but not that you want to put someone in chains. That is even inhumane, okay? But you can do your spiritual, your prayers, your fasting, your Quranic citations. You can do all of that alongside. So you're doing, so there's nothing like, oh, this one failed, then this one, you know, so you just have to, we encourage that you do it together so that different needs in these domains of functioning would be met. In conclusion, no one was born an accountant. No one was born a doctor. No one was born a lawyer. We all learned it. And then we say that one of our most treasured, possessions, which are children, we do not learn how to take care of them. If you will not throw your gold on the floor, in the street of Ojota, or in the street of, why would you then keep your child in the care of someone you cannot entrust your gold or your money or your account balance with?
You have stabbed us. You have stabbed us.
Hey. No, that is why I don't believe in boarding house.
Yes, so it's very important that you as a parent, I usually would say that if you can afford a lease of 40,000, why can you not invest in your mental and emotional health? There are materials, there are products all over the place that helps invest in your mental and emotional health. How do you take a break? How do you, put a priority? Do you have a clear-cut pattern as to how you want to care for your mental health? Knowing that a broken parent will raise a broken child.
Oh, because the child, what we forget is that a child is a human being. It's not a chattel. It is a human being. That is a human being like this that will grow into something, and it is us that will guide that what that human being will become.
You want to be emotional support for your child. A child is no longer allowed to feel pain, feel anything is going to, or make mistakes. Yeah. So you then judge yourself as a failed person because your child behaved in a certain way, or you want to carry emotional baggage for your children. Your child has to learn how to feel, has to learn how to be a human being, just as you learned how to be a human being.
Unfortunately, that's all we can take. But thank you so much, Priscilla. Thank you very much. Thank you also very much, Osideko, for being on the show. Okay. With that, we can close the show. Have a fabulous day.
They are in thinking mood.
They're beating us up. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.